Global.
You don't know what's going on. Sorry about the wait too, man. Biz getting us right, making sure we good. But for the people who don't know what's going on, go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Larry Hoover Jr. and I'm the son of Larry Hoover.
For sure.
I'm his namesake. So I mean, you might have heard of Larry Hoover before. So we go talk about it a little bit.
For sure. Now, growing up with the name Larry Hoover Jr., like that's a powerful name. Like, how was it for you growing up? What was it like for you?
I mean, it was some positive things about it, and there was some negative things about it.
Okay.
You know, it was definitely perks that came with having the name Larry Hoover. You know, sometimes you had people looking out for you, but then you also had to worry about if somebody didn't like you because of the name, and you know, being stopped by the police coming up as a kid, up into a young man, is looked at as if you might be into something you don't need to be into just because I carry the name.
Right. So, like, paint us the picture of Chicago for you. You know what I'm saying? As the youth, like.
As a youth?
Yeah.
Oh, man, Chicago was on. Man, as a kid coming up, Chicago was like all the other cities should have been. Well, I imagine that they were. You know, as a kid coming up, I just did kid stuff until I got of age and started noticing other things around the world. But, you know, I played ball at the park, played for the school, you know, hung out, played video games when video games were still in the stand-up machines in the store, you know. You know, I got to see my community where we had a lot of businesses up and down 79th Street where I lived at. I got to see it all change from a bunch of black business owners in the neighborhood to turning into rundown buildings to, you know, different people coming into the community, buying it up. And
when do you feel like you notice the community like going bad, and what year would that be for you?
I'm gonna have to say that things started changing in the 90s, around, you know, somewhere around when crack started really moving.
So you feel like crackers would like kind of broke the community down, if you had to say?
You start seeing a lot of changes.
Yeah.
You know, you start seeing people doing things that you didn't see them doing before. You just start seeing people behave differently.
Yeah. Now, like, you know, Chicago is one of them places now that, you know, a lot of people are interested in Chicago. I feel like Chicago is a very influential city. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel like the rap kind of, you know, influence what's going on in Chicago now? Do you feel like that kind of was? Do you feel like that era was more influential than the crack era? This era now is more influential than the crack era, if you had to say.
All right, well, Chicago always had some type of reputation as far as, I want to say it started from Al Capone as far as being a city with, you know, gangsters and what have you.
Yeah.
Also, the mayor that ran Chicago, you know, he came up from a street gang called the Hamburgs, but he pulled his people together and they got into politics and voted him, and you know, they ran the city. As far as the people, the kids now, it's real influential because they got a microphone, man, and they can say what they want to say to the world. So, and that's just like every other city, man. Whoever got the microphone and you can speak on something, it takes it to places it would have never made it to. And, you know, Chicago, as far as the so-called gangsters and just say my father, the Larry Hoover thing, the media and the government grew the legend of him to being as big as it is at this point.
Let me ask you, like, what if you had to say the picture that the government and media painted of your father, Larry Hoover? Like, what picture would you say that is that the media paint of him?
He's the god of all crime and He's the god of all crime and evil. That's what the government and the media paints of him.
Right. Now, how old is your father currently?
71.
71. Now, do you really feel like Larry Hoover's voice right now in Chicago is influential enough to, you know, be what they painted as? You know what I'm saying? Like, even if, like, let's just, I don't know, bro. Like, I don't feel like, you know, like the message.
As who paints it as
the media, the government and the media. Like, well, I wouldn't say the media, the government, because, you know, the government has them locked up now. You know what I'm saying? And like, what do you think? Why do you think they painted that picture? Like, why do you think that it is the way that it is?
Okay, well, so like I said, and this is my opinion.
Yeah.
I can't say that it's a for sure fact. I said how Mayor Daley ran the city, and they came from street organizations.
Right.
So my father was influenced by that. My father seen what he did, and he had a large following of people behind him, and he wanted to try to do the same thing that Mayor Daley did. And he showed numbers, and he showed that he had the numbers to make this type of stuff possibly happen. You know, they marched on City Hall. They shut the stock market down across the country because it was just too many people, too many young individuals from all type of organizations that came together.
Now, when you say they, who are you talking about right now?
When I say they, the guys in the streets.
Okay.
So it was a thing called United in Peace. They had all the different organizations, the Stones, the Vice Lords, the GDs, the BDs, the Kings, whoever, you know, everybody took part in this piece.
Okay.
And they would get together and they would march. They marched on City Hall about the closing of the schools and the shutting down of medical facilities in the city. You know, they got together. They found the rapist in the city that was a serial rapist that was raping people in the city. But he seen what Mayor Daley did, and he was trying to get into politics. He registered over 10,000 voters, at least 21st Century Vote did. I can't say he did it by himself, but under the guidance of him, he, you know, registered over 10,000 voters. And this is a threat when a black man shows this type of power. It wasn't that his voice was negative. I believe it's that he had a voice and he was trying to use it, and they would go have to answer to his voice. He says that we want to be a power to be reckoned with, and we were becoming that. And I don't think that was a good thing for the city, because if it was just drugs being sold, that, you know, that's not really the interest of those guys.
Right. Now, shit, I only ask, bro, because, like, I am younger and I really don't know the history behind a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, and for me, like, I know the name Larry Hoover, but I really didn't understand. You know what I'm saying? So I just had to ask.
Well, but yeah, just to take it back a little bit more, he came up from an organization as a young man in the streets. Okay. And he went to jail early, but he had a lot of people that trust and believed in him because he had power, but he knew how to treat people with respect. So he had respect from everybody. You know, he told me once people come to jail and they would be what you would consider his op. He would meet them and talk to them and try to build a relationship right there before he had to build a relationship with them, and they standing up against each other with knives. You know, so he just knew how to show respect and how to treat a person as a man, and people loved him for that. People that followed him, people from different organizations. Like, he was just he was influential. That's just the person he was. It was innate inside of him, and they say he has influence, and they feel like he would use his influence negatively.
Okay, for sure. Now, America has a history of, you know, not really going with black leaders. Do you feel like it's like a conspiracy, like, just to silence black people?
Man, it sure seems that way. I mean, we got a lot of situations that keep coming back to, man, this is what it really looks like. Anytime it's somebody that's a leader that's trying to guide our people, something happens to them.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you you know, the Free Larry Hoover movement is definitely supported by Jay Prince. Kanye West just did a Kanye West and Drake. When is the Free Larry Hoover tour actually starts?
A tour?
It wasn't a tour.
Nah, it wasn't a tour. I like to turn it into a tour, but that would take more work to turn it into a tour.
Okay.
You know, they did do the benefit to raise awareness.
Okay.
You know, and I appreciate both of them brothers for doing that.
No, for
and
sure.
it was, you know, it put it in people's vision about who my father was. It made them go research and, you know, try to see what was going on with him.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, how did the city receive, you know, Kanye West getting aboard the movement?
You had both sides of it. You had some people that were saying, "Oh, he ain't a thug," and blase Skippy. But then you had a lot of people that just love and respect what he did because he used his voice. Like, if people have a voice and they have some power and they use it to assist somebody in need, there's a lot of people that respected him for doing that. You just had some people, and that was kind of like stupid to say that he, you know, to think that he's not from the streets and he ain't did this and he ain't did that. It's not about what Kanye did on the street level. It's about what he's doing for his community and
for his people.
For his people right then. And helping my father, he feels like is helping his people because he's seen some of the good things that he did when he was growing up coming through the city. How he made peace and how my father made peace and, you know, stopped some of the violence and influenced people to go to growth and development and try to be a part of society and not an outcast of society, because that's what my father started off as, an outcast in society, and he was trying to keep people coming up after him from following the same path.